Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the Quantum Guide Show. I just want to let you know that this is basically a no AI zone, but I want to clarify in full disclosure the thumbnails and often the background images I do use AI for, but the rest is completely authentic. There's nothing made up or created by AI, it's just real people talking about real stuff. And today, I'm very happy to bring back Nina the Mystic. For those of you who are not familiar, let me tell you a little bit about her. Nina was born and raised in Norway, but moved to Canada as a young adult to be with family. While growing up, Nina had several spiritual experiences, including sleep paralysis for the first 42 years of her life, but it disappeared when she left Christianity and started to study the occult. Nina makes YouTube videos for her channel called Nina the Mystic and offers private sessions for those who seek spiritual advice and guidance. See her website below for more information. She works as a mystic, but spends a lot of time being a truth seeker, combining all her knowledge to teach and grow with others, which has become a real passion for her. Today, we're going to talk a little bit about how we identify and care for our inner child. Discover discover the wisdom hidden within the secret part of self and the benefits from recognizing and caring for this often forgotten part of us. All of the links are featured below in the description. Check me out, subscribe to my channels, leave me a comment, like my videos, and please do share my content with your friends. And I'm very happy to announce that you can now join my YouTube and Rumble channels, and you can help support the channel and take advantage of my perks. So without further ado, let me bring on my honored guest, Nina. Nina, how are you doing today?
I'm doing good. Thank you for having me on again there, Karen.
Oh, my pleasure. My pleasure. I love talking to you, and we can go down any rabbit hole or as deep as we want. And you've got interesting things to say, and you perceive the world not the same as me, but close enough that we can agree on all kinds of stuff. And so I'm pretty excited to have you back. Those of you who don't know about Nina, go check out her channel, Nina the Mystic. Nina, is it now Nina the Mystic Truther or just Nina the Mystic or Nina the Mystic 68? I'm sorry. I just want everyone to find you.
Yeah, I guess because this is my second channel, I used to have Nino the Mystic before. I had to add the 68. So if you're looking me up on YouTube or Instagram or Facebook, it's Nino the Mystic 68. It's the
Excellent.
handle. Yeah. So
Excellent. Yeah, I've got that on the thumbnail and I've got that down below. So I'm hoping people will come and look you up and start following your content. So
mhm.
before we get started today, I'm just wondering what you're up to. What shows are you running that are like weekly or at a certain day, certain time, so people can mark their calendars?
Yeah, I usually go live every Sunday at 6 o'clock Pacific. That'll be 9 Eastern. It might be a little late for some, but that's when we go live. I find most people are around in the evening. During the day they're
Mhm.
kind of busy. So we do a evening show. We can watch it anytime. I do upload it to Odyssey. We're also goes over to BitChute as well. And so yeah, just go check it out. Whatever platform you choose. Yeah.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Okay. And yeah, so I hope everybody will go and check you out. So today we're going to talk about inner child, the inner child. What is the inner child? What secrets does it hold? Ways that we communicate with our inner child, um, or perhaps just want to contact. Like for me, I did a lot of inner child work as part of trauma recovery.
Mhm.
And I want to say, preface what I'm going to say with this. When you get a kitten or a puppy, it behaves in a certain way. And all through its life, it's still a puppy and a kitten. You can play with it. It has all the same, basically, it's the same animal. It's just learned things like how to hunt and course, how to sleep and how to slobber. But besides that, it never changes to a different role the way we do in our societies. So as a human, here I am, an old lady, almost 70 years old, and I'm still a kid inside. I look out through the eyes of myself, but also from my inner child. And I don't think we're ever meant to grow up the way society wants us to grow up. In fact, I think the whole term being a grown up is actually more about programming um, that we receive in school and the socialization to fit in and continue on a um, a system that is actually not natural to us. And I think it burns a lot of people out. And a lot of people have all kinds of health problems from trying to be a grown up all the time. But do you have any thoughts on any of that, Nina?
Yeah, the saying adulting is overrated, being an adult, yeah, no, we got to switch roles all of a sudden. It's kind of funny because I saw it with my kids. They went from
Mm-hmm.
being a teenager to all of a sudden get married, have kids. Now they got, now all of a sudden they have to be an adult, so it's kind of
Mm-hmm.
funny to see it there. But yeah, no, me as well, like you, shadow work, it's usually has to do with trauma in childhood. I mean, most of our
Mm-hmm.
issues and whatnot is stems from childhood. And the reason being is that as a child, we're not able to reason why this is happening or why they did that or and all that kind of stuff. We just don't understand, and we bring that into adulthood. So it is very important to do the shadow work so that you're adult now, as an adult now, you can look at it again, and it's a little bit
Mm-hmm.
painful, to drudge things up, but being able to reason and understand why this happened, why they did what they did, and that kind of thing, I think is very beneficial.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would agree. I was going to say too, it's really popular now for people to want to have past life regression or hypnosis and all this stuff. But I'm going to tell you what happened to me. This is back quite a long time ago in maybe the mid 80s. And I was going through a really rough time, just split up from with my husband, was on my own with two little kids, and I was having a lot of trouble. And it was at that point that I realized I had a drinking problem. I need to quit alcohol. So I went for different kinds of therapies to help me with my objective. And I went into a group treatment, sort of. It wasn't live in, but I went every day for this group treatment, and the psychologist who was leading the group, she was big on hypnosis regression for past life trauma. And
Mhm.
she hypnotized me, and I went back to when I was very young, maybe 3 or 4 years old. And then she couldn't bring me out of it. I couldn't come back. She couldn't bring me back. And it took quite a long time. And eventually, I was holding a doll. And I knew that if I could keep the doll, I could come back to being the age I was at the time. And the age I was at the time was probably getting close to 40. And so she let me keep the doll, and I was able to come out of it. But that really taught me a lesson. So I do not, even though I've had ET contact and stuff, and that I only have partial memory, I do not let anybody hypnotize me or do any past life regression or anything like that. Because I had a fair amount of trauma when I was a child, but also, what if they're not as experienced as they think they are and they can't bring me back or bring me back out or leave me intact? So I guess it's a cautionary tale, but also that was when I really got in touch with my inner child. And then, man, it was like sharing my body with a toddler. It was not fun, not convenient, not socially acceptable. But I had to listen to my younger self because my younger self, turns out, was storing all kinds of super valuable information that would have been, I guess, lost or forgotten in the meantime. Nina, have you ever had anything like that happen to you, or do you know anyone that has had similar?
No, but I instinctively have known that, yeah, it's probably not a good idea to do this over the internet, because I know you got the quantum hypnosis and whatever, and I've had people offer it, like, oh, we'll just do it over Zoom or whatever. And it's like,
Mm,
yeah, no, what if you can't bring me back? Right. So I would
mhm,
highly recommend, if you are going to do anything like that, that it be in person for sure.
mhm.
Because even then, like she said, there is a risk. It's like anything you do, there is a risk that you might not come back, So yeah, so I'll leave that up to the individual, but definitely don't do that just over Zoom, like, because yeah. So no, and I
Yeah,
haven't had that to me, and I haven't known anybody else that didn't come out. I haven't. Sometimes it could be a few minutes, to come out, but nothing scary, nothing like we're like, oh my God, we thought we were gonna lose you, But yeah.
yeah, yeah. So, I think that most people would agree that we do have an inner child. It might be repressed, suppressed. It might be that we mask and don't show it. I actually have a hard time keeping, I call her little Karen. I sometimes have a hard time keeping her constrained so that I don't look like a weirdo when I'm out in public. I'll just give you a couple of examples so you know how weird I really am, or maybe I'm not that weird. But whenever I would go into a big department store, they don't have too many of those anymore. But they used to have these big department stores, like the Hudson's Bay Company and stuff in Canada here, and the floors were so glossy and shiny and slippery. And I just love to twirl, like where you step out, kind of hop off onto one foot and twirl around and around and around. And you can do that because the floors are so shiny. And then I realize that there's kids watching, and the mothers do not want their children acting that way in public, even though this old lady is doing it. And it's not like I plan to do it. It's just like it overtakes me. Another one is singing in public washrooms, not realizing that everyone outside can hear me. It's another funny one. So, I mean, mind so much, but I have found that those are ways that I can let little Karen come out to play. And if I don't do that, I end up with more aches and pains, more sleepless nights, more depression and anxiety. I don't know. Are you, I don't want to put you on the spot, Nina, but are you in touch with your inner child? And if so, how do you let her come out, or him, I guess it could be either way, come out and play?
uh well, not quite like that. I guess I'm more uh constrained, I guess, in that way, but good for
More
you.
reserved.
Yeah, good for you for letting her out even in public, not caring that other people are watching you dance, like, that's the way we should be, honestly, right? We all should be that. And yeah, no wonder that you are literally feeling a lot better from doing that. You know what I mean? It's like a therapy in its own, and more of us should be doing that, but and most of us are probably too worried about looking cool, and whatever, and not, and whatever. But yeah, no, the only time I really, well, yeah, pretty much the only time that I really let her out is during my shadow work.
Hmm.
Safe, but when I feel like I'm in a safe space. So for me, I like to do it in the salt bath. It's a safe place
Hmm.
to be. You're surrounded with the salt that's protective. You got the
Hmm.
water that's conductive with memory, and so it's a great place to meditate and do your shadow work. So that's kind of, I allow myself to kind of do that there. Um,
Hmm.
yeah. So I guess I'm more self-disciplined that way. I guess.
Hmm.
But
No, it's all good. I don't think there's a right or wrong way of doing this,
no,
Anina. I'm just honest about
yeah,
I'm not saying you're not being honest, but I'm just saying I'm pretty open about how weird I am because I think on the one hand it lets other people have permission to be weird too.
mhm,
And second of all, I don't think there's anything wrong with it. And that's about it. But I have gone through periods of time where I had to do intense inner child work, even to the point of let it her, what I call little Karen, dominate my personality. And I couldn't, it was like a force within that I couldn't resist. And so I went for, this is kind of embarrassing, but I'll just tell you all anyway. So I went for a period of time where I bought myself children's toys that I didn't have when I was a child. When I was a child, I didn't have a lot of the things normal children have. It's a long, depressing story. I don't want to get into it today. There's not much point. It would take up the whole podcast and everyone would be feeling bad after. And that's not my point with this. But when I would let little Karen take over, buy her some toys, and it wasn't even like I really played with them. It was more that those were mine. I wanted them. A part of me wanted them, and I let myself have them. So eventually it graduated to like Barbies. And the funny thing about the Barbie dolls was I never planned to look like Barbie. That was never my goal. But I was a very big woman throughout most of my adulthood, over 320 pounds, which is more than 150 pounds more than what I weigh now. And the funny thing is when I started playing with Barbie dolls, I started to lose weight and I would buy clothes for my Barbie, and it was as though my Barbie was an effigy of me, or like a physical manifestation of my grown-up self or my teenage self or whatever.
mhm,
And I started losing weight. It was quite a remarkable thing. And then I got to the point where I just didn't need them anymore. And then I'd give them away to kids, neighbor kids or family members or whatever. And
mhm,
then the reason I brought this topic up for today, this is kind of funny, is I was in the supermarket with my son just last week. And I went to look at the hair care goods because I'm trying to grow out my bangs. And oh my God, I don't know what to do with this hair until it gets to a certain length, right? And I saw these really colorful headbands and barrettes. And my senses just went off. My little Karen went, those. I have to have those. I have to have those. So I put them in the shopping cart and I'm leaving to pay, go to the checkout. My son is looking in the cart, looking at me like, what the heck? And I said, it's not for me, it's for little Karen. And he went, oh, um, it's just funny. I mean, it's just silly. But when I do those things, I'm not just giving into a part of me that wants silly things. It's being in contact with that part of me that
mhm,
holds huge, vast amounts of information that maybe I'm not even conscious of. That's the sort of weird part about it, is the power that's held within that child that most of us, if not all of us, are denying into existence for a period of time. I don't know.
mhm.
I know this must sound really weird, but I just thought I would like to talk about it because I'm sure I'm not the only one.
Yeah, I can just picture you with pigtails now.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know,
It
yeah,
it is
some
it is
fun.
a very strange life I have, but I feel like I'm really blessed. So, I find that sometimes I do what they call channeling, and I don't know if it actually fits the exact description of channeling, where I just spontaneously get information or I figure something out and I have no idea how I figured it out.
Mhm,
Things like that. And I really feel that those things come from the core of me, which is strongly influenced by what I will call little Karen. and it has helped me in so many ways. Um, it's almost like little Karen has always been awake and with me and picks up on the stuff that I have missed. I don't know. Have you ever heard of that before, Nina, or experienced that? Sorry if I'm being too personal. Just tell me to mind my own
Oh,
business.
well, that's great. I mean, that's what the show is all about. Yeah, no, that's great. You probably are channeling little Karen. Little Karen, maybe because there's part of you probably as an adult who don't want to talk about that, or oh, that's silly, whatever. But little Karen, once
Yeah.
you tell her, she'll just tell it, because it's a different consciousness there, and so part of you probably needs that in order to be able to express yourself the way that you need to, because your adult one won't let you do it. So you have to kind
Mhm.
of let little Karen in to do it for you, kind of thing. And so with myself, I would say, like, I can get silly too, like the filters off, and just and I don't know if I'm channeling little Nina at that time, but whatever it is. But yeah, you kind of got to shift your consciousness a little bit to allow yourself to do some silly things, sometimes, you know what I mean? Or say certain things that you, as an adult, wouldn't allow yourself to say that because
Mm.
of all the filters
Mhm.
that we've got on us, so yeah, good for you.
Yeah, yeah. Sometimes if I don't acknowledge that presence regularly within myself, and love it and take care of it,
Mm-hmm.
then I end up with problems where um, I don't consider myself as having a multiple personality, but there are times where little Karen will pop out when I least expect it. And I have to be really careful during times like the 2020, 2021 restrictions, really super careful,
Mm-hmm.
because a cheeky response is not going to be helpful to me.
Mm-hmm.
And I can remember one time I was on one of the BC ferries and I had a little, really tiny little dog, and the staff were persecuting me because of my little dog, bringing it onto the ferry. But I was a walk on, I didn't have a vehicle, and I didn't have any other way of getting to the mainland from the island. And when it was all done, they told me that when I got to the other side, the SPCA would be waiting and they would take away my little dog and they would destroy it because I had disobeyed them.
Wow.
And yeah, and so something happened inside of me, and I just went, Karen, you need to get off the ferry a different way. And so when the ferry docked, I went off one of the car levels where the cars come off, and I was able to go without seeing the SPCA. I don't even know if that was really true. She might have just been trying to scare me. But on my way off with my dog, the guy who had tattled on me and got me into trouble, I just turned around and looked at him and I stuck my tongue out at him as I walked by. And I knew I shouldn't have done that, but at the same time, I didn't have any control over it. So that really happened. And yeah, I don't know. There's bullies everywhere, but it seems that the young part of us knows what to do in those situations. I want to talk a little bit about inner child and socialization. I've got two granddaughters, and one of them is very empathetic and a little bit too reserved for 6 years old. The other one is just a nightmare waiting for a place to happen. Has very strong opinions, very strong sense of values, has no problem sticking up for herself, telling people off. And, I was thinking that ideally she should be allowed to be who she is. It's going to be a great protection for her in the long run. She's not going to have her mind messed with. Is she will not be easily programmed,
Mm-hmm.
but now she's in school, and in school, those behaviors are unacceptable. And
Mm-hmm.
so how do we navigate life, especially with children, so that they can keep their inner child intact, because I think it's that part of us is there for a really good reason. Uh, I don't want to break her spirit. Her parents don't want to break her spirit. We think she might be gifted. And but to get on in the world, you have to behave. And I hate behaving as much as the next person. But I just wondered if you have any thoughts since you have grandchildren, although yours are probably a little bit younger yet. But if you have any thoughts about that, Nina.
Yeah, that's the thing. We have to tell them not to. Unfortunately, we are part of the problem there with having to tell them what to say, when to say it, when it's not
Mm-hmm.
appropriate, and out of survival, though. Like
Mm-hmm.
back in our day, we get slapped. Like I remember the ruler was out in my day. Like, so you literally got beat if you said anything out of turn or whatever, and so you learned, hard knocks, when to speak,
Mm-hmm.
when not to speak. Today, though, it's a little different. There's a little bit more liberal now, a little bit more lenient, I would say, but again, not during maybe class, and so this is where we have come up with this whole new problems with ADH and attention deficit and really none of that is true. It's just them being normal kids. It's all it is. It's just that they're doing it during class time or they're doing it when the adults don't want them to do, and that.
Mm-hmm.
So now that we're medicating them now, in order
Mm-hmm.
for them to shut up. And what is that doing to them?
Mm-hmm.
It can't be good either. I know I had a younger brother who were put on medication as a young child. And that
Mm-hmm.
escalated into drugs later in life. And that's the thing.
Mm-hmm.
That's what they're not looking at. Like that's a gateway into drug use now, because now the kids are used to, oh, I just need to pop a pill and it's all good. You see, so
Mm-hmm.
that's a real kind of concern. I'm a little concerned my grandson because I think he's on the spectrum of
Yeah.
autism, and there's going to be problems there. And I could just see him. Oh, well, let's give him something, or something, so yeah, so these are issues that are coming up for me,
Mm-hmm.
school system and
Yep.
all that kind of stuff.
Yep.
So
Yeah, but you're right. Like they can't express authentically at school. And if it isn't the rules to do with the school, it's and the socialization and programming, it's
mhm,
their peers will make fun of them, bully them, all those kind of things too. So it's a real problem. So for me, you know, um, I'm doing my best to teach them how to behave. And of course, it means me having to behave while I'm there for sure. I do behave. It's not like I don't, but there's just these times where my inner child wants to be more active in my life. And
mhm,
so if I'm knowing what that feels like, how can I be mad at, my grandchildren for being like that? So my daughter and her husband, they don't believe in spanking or hitting. They do time out. That's about as bad as it gets.
mhm,
And but they have to learn how to behave. It's just the one I don't know if she can. It's not that she's bad. She's not. What it is she's extremely intelligent. She knows what she wants. She knows the shortest route between here and getting what she wants, and she doesn't think about consequences or anything. She's only 6. When I was 6, I didn't, well, even older than that, I didn't necessarily look at the consequences either. So, yeah, so preparing our children to fit into a world. And then the other thing about this world is it's become a horror story as far as extremes of beliefs, extremes of behavior, extremes of intention. And then you add to that technology, and you add to that, AI, and now the school systems in Canada are basically being run, not completely, they still have teachers, but AI is definitely moving in, and I have no idea where that's going to go. But I'm concerned for my granddaughters because I think their core personalities, there's nothing wrong with. That was the other thing I wanted to say. A lot of people, and even when I was a parent, we get really burnt out from dealing with the system, constantly dealing with the system. We do not have a fraction of the energy that our children and grandchildren have. What do we do with all that energy? What do we do with it? They need an outlet. If you can get them into swimming and gymnastics or something, that's great. That helps. But I'm not saying that everyone is in a position to do that. But how do we nurture that part of them so they're not suppressing it and having to do inner child work when they're adults, I guess is what I'm saying. I don't even know what I'm saying. Any thoughts, Nina?
Yeah, it's not normal. Sorry, for kids to sit still for 6 hours.
Yeah.
It just isn't. And they literally have to beat us in order for us to sit still. Back in our day,
Mhm.
anyways. Nowadays, they just medicate, because the discipline has gone out the window. But yeah, it's not normal. The whole system is not what we're meant to be doing. And
Mhm.
so, I'm hoping that the whole system is going to change and go back
Mhm.
to more. I know here in my local area here, we have something called the outdoor school.
Mhm.
So homeschooling essentially, but they get together and they get together every day, get together, go out in the park, go swimming, go whatever, so the kids can socialize and get that whole aspect, because that's one area maybe that they will be lacking then with homeschooling. But I think we probably are going to be going more back towards those ways.
Mhm.
um, and I know this is probably going to trigger a lot of women, but from the looks of it, most of the jobs that will be gone with AI and whatever is going to be women's jobs, unfortunately. And so
Mhm.
I think we are going to be starting to see more that women are going to be at home more, raising their own children and doing more of the homeschooling, as
Mhm.
well as the nutrition. That's another problem, that with the
Yeah.
nutrition, you pack the kid full of sugar in the morning and you expect them to sit still for 6 hours now. Like, you know what I mean? We were lied to so many ways with our nutrition, with the school system, everything. So I
Mhm.
think if we can kind of go back to the way that we were meant to be, the
Mhm.
way we were meant to eat, the things that we were meant to eat, and eliminate all the poisons and all these other things, we'll be just fine. You know,
Mhm.
so it's going to be interesting to see how this all progresses forward here. But it looks like the schools, it never really recovered after the shutdown.
Mhm.
It was sort of just a tester to see how it would go, kind of thing. And it never really recovered. A lot of people haven't gone back to school. A lot of people haven't,
Mhm.
gone back to work even. So
Mhm.
yeah, hopefully it's going to change so that, kids should be learning. There's so much other things that they should be learning. Balancing your checkbook. That would be nice to know when you get out of high school,
Mhm.
which they don't, or even growing food or, nutrition and all these things that they don't teach you in school. That's the stuff that
Mhm.
we should be learning. But so it's
Mhm.
really interesting to see how it goes forward here. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that many governments, including Canada, is running out of money. The debt's gotten so high, they have to start cutting. So now they're talking about cutting off seniors from their old age pension if they make over a certain amount of income from other sources. I'm
Mm,
sure they're going to cut out the schools and kids are going to be learning at home in front of a computer with AI. I think it's coming very, very quickly. Um, I think that a lot of people are starting to wake up to how important food is,
mhm,
but there's a like I only know from my own experience, and there was periods of time when my children were younger that because I was a single parent, I was under so much stress, but I had no money, hardly any money. We could barely afford rent and food. I was out collecting pop bottles and doing everything I could to have enough for food.
mhm,
And still, I relied on the food bank, and the kids and the food bank, well, I don't know if they're all like that, but I'll just say, speak from my experience. the food banks that we dealt with, they had just horrible amounts of good food. For instance, you got about an eighth of a pound of ground beef that was supposed to last a family of 3 or 4 for a month. An eighth of a pound. Like, that's just a little glob. That's not much bigger than a meatball. Whoops, I'm trying to get my hand out there right.
Wow.
Um, the vegetables were all moldy, had bugs, and were horrible. And but what did they have an abundance of? Stale donuts, stale cakes, stale pies, stale pasta. That was the stuff that they had. So that's what we brought home. And we all put on a terrific amount of weight. Then I got persecuted because my kids were overweight. And it wasn't like I wasn't trying, but we just didn't have the money. It was hard times. And
Mm.
so I think there's a lot of Canadians like that. And, I also think there's two Canadas. I know this is going off on a little bit of a tangent, but there are Canadians that are middle class and higher, and they think the country operates a certain way. Whereas if you live below the poverty line, you find out the country operates very, very differently. And
Mm.
you are treated like an expendable crew member.
Mm.
And um, and I don't know what to say about that. It's probably like that in every country. But I think that as the networks of education and different systems, even hospitals and stuff, start to collapse, I think AI is going to take over. I think it won't be long before you'll talk or communicate, I should say, to an AI that, give them your physical symptoms. The AI will issue you a requisition for some blood work. You put the results in, and it'll tell you what's wrong with you. And on the one hand, that might be a good thing, because I don't know about you, Nina, but I have not had very good service from medical doctors in the last 10 years, actually, even longer.
Mhm.
But I mean, if all these people get an accurate diagnosis, find out right away whether they're insulin resistant or they got
Mhm.
hypertension or whatever, and they get on a program to change that, maybe we won't need the hospitals as much. And then as far as the schools go, like you said, if the child doesn't fit in and isn't compliant, they're medicated. But even the education system is not necessarily accurate, factual, or even helpful, besides creating compliant, docile little beings to fit into the construct. And I know that's how we were treated. No wonder so many of us, middle aged and older, are having issues with our inner child. Sorry, I didn't mean to ramble on quite for all that long, but what's your thoughts, Nina?
Yeah. Oh, excuse me. I woke up with a little bit of a sore throat, but I think I'm fighting it. I think I'm winning. But talking, I'm not used to talking so much. But
I'm
uh,
sorry, Nina.
yeah, no, I think a lot of jobs are going to be lost, and I think doctors and nurses, those jobs are going to be gone.
Yeah.
And I think it's going to be good because if you can program, this AI or whatever it is with all the medical knowledge, it'll be able to
Hmm.
diagnose you in 2 seconds. And then if we can get away from the whole just give you a pill, because that's all doctors do nowadays. They don't
Yeah.
ask about your diet, they don't ask about anything. They're like, you got a symptom, okay, here you go, here's a pill for that, and then you'll be back
Hmm.
next month for another pill that will counteract the side effects from that pill, and it just goes on and on and on and on, and
Hmm.
that's what's going on. So, I am excited about the future. I think we're going to be getting new technology, and you probably know more about it, talking to the ETs and whatnot. But there's going to be technology coming in where people, yeah, we're not going to need hospitals. We're going to be going back to the temples. The temple was designed for healing. You can get
Yeah.
healing from frequencies, that organ that they were playing. Well, that organ is actually heals your organs, and stuff like that. So I think we're going to be going back to some of the old stuff, but also there's going to be some new stuff coming in. And it's going to be a lot better, I think, than the way it is right now. Because right now we're just being guided or led by the pharmaceutical companies. That's it.
Yep.
That's who's hiring the doctors. That's all they know. That is
Yep.
what pill to take, So, yeah.
Yeah, it's disgusting, actually. I just want to say a quick hi to people in the chat before we get too far into the show. Patty Chapman. Hi, Patty. Nice to see you. Thank you so much for joining us on the show today. And of course, Denise. Denise, the links are still there. I don't know why. Oh, you know what? They just disappeared from me too. All the links were here, and I drew everyone's
Because it's
attention to them.
live, when you're in the live chat, it's just the live that you see. The rest of the stuff disappears. Uh, you might see it on the or actually, you know what? If they were posted before we actually went live, they do disappear. They won't even be on the replay. But
Okay.
well, that's okay. Thanks for doing that, though, Denise. Everybody can get our links down in the description anyway. So,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah. Yeah. And your efforts are not wasted, Denise. So
yeah.
Denise is our all-star. I could call her our all-star quarterback, but she's actually the moderator for this channel. I'm so privileged to have her with us. She shows up for pretty much every show, does the moderating, posts all the links, kind of helps keep the live chat happy. And Denise, you're worth your weight in gold. And I just want you to know how much I appreciate you. Thank you for being here. It's awesome. So getting back to what you were, oh, that's okay, Denise. Don't worry about it. Denise said that she'll remember for next time. No, you're doing a fine job. Just how you do. Just thrilled to bits. I was going to say, yeah, I think that this control that's over the earth right now, and I'm talking about, yes, the pharmaceutical industry and the medical industry and the industrial military um, thing and the religions and on and on and on. Thank you. I love you too, Denise. You've really helped me a lot. Really appreciate you. Um, I think that this is all passing. I think things are really coming out in the social media. Oh my God, the stuff that's coming out now, I never thought I would hear about it. So I think it's all crumbling. And then I don't know if you're familiar, Nina, with Chris Bledsoe. He wrote the book called UFO of God. And he has had experiences with ETs, but he experiences them as angels. And they have basically, I think they started to tell him, well, anyway, it works out to about 7 years ago. They told him that we are in the Great Tribulation and that it would last for 7.5 years. And it ends next Easter. So that'll be really interesting to see how that's going to go. But I do think the system is crumbling, and I think we're going to get back to, our natural way of being. But, our grandparents, most of them were beaten. I mean, savagely punished and beaten for just doing something like reaching across the table or slamming a door, or like for the smallest infringements, they were brutalized. Our parents, some were, some weren't. And then there's our generation. So in a way, I'm happy that the younger generation, the children, are freer to express and be children. I think that's wonderful. I agree with you what you said about the medication. It's a gateway because they're used to just taking a pill when they need to feel better or when they need to calm down. And
Mm-hmm.
so what do they do later when they get into life?
Mm-hmm.
And they have a problem, it's easy to take a pill. And I also want to say that for years and years, I went to the doctor and I did everything I was told. I took the pills. I used to have migraines. And then the medication, which was narcotic, wouldn't work anymore. And they'd have to give me stronger medications and stronger. I ended up becoming addicted to my physician prescribed medication, never did find out what was causing the migraines or the headaches in the first place. And I had to get off that merry-go-round funny thing is, I found out later it was my shampoo that had SLS, sodium lauryl sulfate, in it.
Mm.
And that was causing my migraines. So all the pills in the world would not have helped. But do you think the doctor would run any tests on, sensitivities to chemicals or no? And the other thing, while I'm on bitching about the medical industry, is you've got like 10 minutes, maybe, unless the person before you took longer, then you might have 6 minutes. You get in there, my doctor doesn't remember me, doesn't remember anything about me.
Yeah.
And he's just got his script pad ready to give me a prescription. And when I ask for anything else, like for him to tell me why I'm having this problem, he says, no, I have no idea. We don't do that. You want to help that way, you go see a naturopath. But
Yeah, they're not really doctors as we
they're
know
not.
it.
No, no, not at all. So I guess I should bring this back full circle to the inner child and inner child work. I think, just to summarize, that, if we had a proper upbringing on planet Earth in a more natural way, we would never completely suppress our inner child. Our inner child wouldn't act out. I know a lot of people, when they drink alcohol, then their inner child comes out with a vengeance. But
Mhm.
I don't do well with alcohol, and I quit many, many years ago. And so I'm maybe finding new ways to acknowledge my inner child. But I think there's that. I think we're returning to it. And I agree with you, Nina. I actually have great hope for humankind. I believe we can get through this and we can dump that old system that doesn't work and is not helpful. We can create new systems, new ways of being, new ways of doing. And I also believe that the ET presence is here to stay. And how much can we learn from them? Because they've already been through all this and they've surpassed it and they've moved to a higher way of being and knowing and doing. Let's see what Denise has to say. I'm grateful for my doctors. Talk to me and remember me, which is so good today. Well, that's awesome, Denise. If your
You got
doctor
a good
can
one now.
remember you,
Yeah, that's
you're doing good. So I'm not saying they're all rotten. I'm just saying I have not had good experiences with them.
maybe out in the country or places where it's not as populated, the doctor will have more of a relationship with you and whatever. But in the big cities, yeah, it's And I also want to comment on what that guy said about next April. That goes exactly with the timeline with astrology. I just had an
Does
astrologer
it?
on my channel on Sunday, and he says, yeah, pretty much now from the next 6 months, buckle up. We're in for a bit of a ride. There's going to be some changes. And unfortunately, with changes, there's going to be changes. Okay, I don't want to go
Mm-hmm.
into more than that. But he says by April, is what he said too, things will start to calm down. So that
Mm-hmm.
kind of goes with what that guy said that the ETs had said as well. So if we can just get through the next 6 months, and that's, talking to your inner child, because your inner child is probably feeling it already. We can all feel it, that something is coming. Something is
Mm-hmm.
about to happen, and our inner child is going to react to that in ways that we don't even realize. And so be mindful of that. It might act up. It might want to
Mm-hmm.
do things that we normally don't do because it's feeling it,
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, heads up on
No,
that.
I agree. I agree 100%. So, Chris Bledsoe, he's identified the main being that he's had contact with for years and years and years now, um, as the lady. And it looks like it's a manifestation similar to what they had in Lourdes and Fatima and different places throughout history where a being who has been identified as the Virgin Mary has actually come back. Now, the interesting thing is this lady has been known as many, many different things in the past, Hathor and all kinds of different deities, but it's the same entity, and that it protects this world and it sees this world as a living organism, which I would agree with, but
Mhm.
that the horrors that have been happening on this planet and are going to be, it's going to end next year. I hope so. I mean, I'm the last one that wants to perpetuate dates, but at the same time, seriously, all this war and killing and blood sacrifice and misuse of children. Oh
Mhm.
my God, it's horrible. Sometimes I have trouble sleeping at night because I
Mhm.
can't imagine how this will all end, but apparently it will. And then once we become free people again, I think that we can present in more playful ways that, and that's a lot more psychologically um, um, I don't know what you call it, healthy than the way we have today.
Mhm.
And so I'm hoping that then we won't have to do as much inner child work. And there's other people who are more expert than me talking about inner child, but I wanted to talk about my experiences so that other people out there might listen and go, hey, that's not so different than me. Maybe I'm really okay. Maybe I am okay. Maybe this part of me is helping me, so I'm
Mhm.
hoping.
Yeah. Absolutely. That's why we talk about things, right? So for others to hear and hopefully learn from and validate, and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
For sure. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So that's about all I have to say on the subject. Do you want me to turn it over to you, Nina? Do you have more words of wisdom, or do you want to just tell us about what's going on with your show, maybe upcoming guests or anything like that?
Um, excuse me. Yeah, before we go off the subject, I guess, hopefully, in the future here, kids are going to be growing up in a more loving, nurturing way where, yeah, they don't need all this counseling and, shadow work and stuff like that. You know, uh, we can't blame parents because we all got set up for this,
Yeah.
the way it was, even, yeah, I'm not going to go into it, but a lot of people probably shouldn't have been parents, they just didn't have
Hmm.
time to be parents. And that's what's happening today. Like, uh, we have all these subsidized daycares popping up everywhere, and they don't want women to take care of their own kids, they don't want, because they want to indoctrinate them themselves. So hopefully all of that will be gone here in the future, and we'll kind of go back to more of the old ways, but at the same time we're going to have modern technology, so it's not going to be as strenuous as it was.
Hmm.
Like, we're not going to be going down to the river and washing clothes by hand. When that's not going to happen. But I think because we're waking up now to all the poisons in our food, in our hair product. I mean, you just said the shampoo is the one that caused your migraines, so you
Hmm.
wonder why kids are, you got all these, well, so women are going to be going back to making their own food, growing their own
Hmm.
food, preserving, so that they know exactly what the kids are getting. Same with the products. We're going to be making our own product, kind of going back to the sort of the way it was, with that kind of stuff. um
Hmm.
it turns out the Amish were right all along.
Hmm.
We
Hmm.
should have listened more to the Amish, honestly. They had it right, but here we are. So yeah, anyways, I got a couple of guests coming up. I had three good guests previous years. So if you want to go over to my channel and binge watch that stuff there. um then I have a couple of guests coming up who I don't really know yet. They're new people, and so that's gonna be interesting. I get to kind of know them as well as I do the
Hmm.
shows. But yeah, subscribe to the YouTube and follow all the social media there, and yeah.
Awesome. 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 Yeah. And before we go, is there anything the audience or my friends in the live chat, is there anything that we didn't cover that you'd like to add before we say goodbye? And yeah, so this has been quite interesting. I really appreciate you coming back once a month, Nina, and we can talk about things from our perspective. We're both mystical, we're both mothers, we're both, you know, been through quite a lot. And
Mhm.
I think that it's important to just sometimes talk about things, without having too many bells and whistles, although I do like bells and whistles, I have to say. Let's see what Shelley has to say. Shelley says it's been near a certainty that preparation for a major world event is coming. I felt this for about 30 years. Mm. And thank you, Shelley, and welcome to the show. And thank you for watching the replay. Lots of good information here. Mm-hmm. The only other thing I want to add as far as announcements goes is on my website, I sell a few items to help support the channel and to cover my expenses. I know Nina's got some awesome merch, and her links for the merch, Denise had it posted earlier. I did actually put it on the stage, so it'll show up in the replay. For Nina's merch, but I also sell a Zendome's Orgonite, which is my own brand of orgone generators and other things. And right now I'm having a sale, 40% off of orgone generators and crystals. Now, for those of you who are in Canada, I'm sure you would appreciate 40% off. For those in the States, all my prices are in Canadian dollars. And so when you go through the checkout, you will receive 40% off, but you're going to find that your total is much less than what you thought it was going to be, because the Canadian dollar's only worth about, I don't know, maybe, what do you think, 75 cents at the most American?
Something like that, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Thank you, Denise. And so I just want everyone to know that sale ends at the end of November. So you still got a month, but everything I have is in limited supply. So when it's gone, it's gone. So if there's any pieces you've been looking at, now would be the time to get them. Mm-hmm. So thank you, Denise. Thank you, Shelley. Thank you, everybody, for joining us today. It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you, Nina, for coming on the show and sharing your insights and your experience. I really appreciate your friendship very much. And with that, I guess we will say goodbye, and we'll see you all on Sunday for Aliens and Angels. Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye.
Thank you for joining me for the Quantum Guide Show. Become the change that you wish to see in the world. Subscribe to my YouTube and other channels at Karen Holton TV. Click the like button, leave me a comment, and share this podcast with your friends. Read about my true life ET contact in my book called Transdimensional: Meet the New Neighbors, which is now available in Amazon bookstores worldwide. Check out my website at www.KarenHoltonHealthCoach.com to see my free resources and amazing products and services. All the links will be in the description below. As part of the Forbidden Knowledge Network, you will find the Quantum Guide Show with Karen Holton and also the Aliens and Angels podcast on all audio platforms. Until next time, keep up the good work.